hit some anytime goal scorers as well as safe shots on goal for some of these goalies. Give me both teams to score in the first period. That's coming in at plus 185 compared to the over 1.5 that is at minus 120. Okay, you guys ready? Let's make some freaking money. It's time for Puck It with Jo. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. It's time for Puck It with Jo over here on SportsGrid TV on X as well as over on YouTube. I hope everyone's having a great start to their Saturday. Matt, thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. It is definitely a great day and a great decade. Great, whatever, to be a woman. That's for sure, not decade. It is great right now to be a woman. So let's jump into today's action out there on the ice. We got a loaded slate, you guys. No time to delay. And we've got lots of players making their debuts for their teams. We're going to talk about them. We're also going to talk about teams that definitely were the best at the trade deadline. You know, the Dallas Stars getting Mikko Rantanen, and then Florida picking up Brad Marchand. It was incredible to see those trades come down. Bruins fans definitely losers at the trade deadline. I feel for the Bruins fans out there, a hard one to swallow where that is an end of an era. Brad Marchand was the last player that was on that team from that fantastic run back in 2011 for the Cup. So definitely things changing in Boston. They have picked up like 8 new players in Boston, though they got a bunch of picks in hand as well. So definitely rebuild time for that team, but there's still playmakers like Panarin there. And then you look at the Dallas Stars getting Rantanen, you look at the Carolina Hurricanes not being able to hold on to Rantanen, not just not being able to convert. We did see Edmonton make a couple moves. They didn't pick up a strong defenseman, still picking up a defenseman, but not the strength that they needed. The LA Kings didn't pick up anyone. I expected them to go for another top scorer out there, and they just didn't get things done. So lots of interesting things happening. Really love the move by the Colorado Avalanche, getting Brock Nelson from the Islanders. So we saw sellers and buyers. We also saw one player lose his bestie out there, Brady Tkachuk losing Josh Norris. Will this be like when we saw Sid last year lose Jake Guentzel? Are we going to see that out of Brady? Because if you remember last year, Sid after the trade deadline just came out so flat. That whole team did after they lost Jake Guentzel. Looking at this here, be cautious with the Ottawa Senators and Brady Tkachuk. It's either going to ignite him or it's going to be a Brady Tkachuk that's just flat out there on the ice. I'm looking at probably the second to be the answer there. You also look at the Boston Bruins players and how flat are they going to come out after that trade yesterday. So it's going to be hard with them losing their captain. Will we have their original 5 players that were in part of that last run that they did a couple of years back really step up like Panarin in this one? Or are we going to see this team just disgruntled coming out on the ice today? So lots of caution here when we go into these games. Let's talk about the Seattle Kraken. Good morning, Vinny. Thank you for being here. First, let's talk about the Seattle Kraken versus the Philadelphia Flyers. The puck will drop at 11 or 12:40 Eastern here. So we've got about 35 minutes before this puck drops. We've got the Kraken rolling in at a plus 126. Underdog on the road, and minus 152 here for the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, this total sitting at a solid 5.5, minus 138 to the over, and plus 112 to the under. Joey Daccord versus Urgent should be your goaltending matchup. I do think the Flyers can get the win in this one. I look at the Seattle Kraken and how poor their defense and goaltending has been all season. And then offensively, while in some of these games they have put up those goals, they haven't really been pushing. I bet on them last time versus the Predators, and we know how terrible that was. I expected the Kraken to have a huge game versus the Preds, but they fell flat, losing that one 5-3. At least they were able to go over their team total in that game of 2.5, but I'm still not impressed. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. I think the Flyers here, with coming off a loss, they've been strong in that bounce back situation when they were favored in the next game off of a loss, being able to bounce back in their last 6 in this sort of situation. So they've lost their last 2. Thursday, really hard game versus the Winnipeg Jets, losing that one 4-1. First night of a back-to-back with the Devils on deck on Sunday, but sitting 7th in the Metro. They're not looking ahead to any of their opponents, even a divisional matchup in the Metro there. They need this win tonight. So the Flyers in reg is where I'm going to find some value. That's coming in at plus 105. I do think they have the possibility of going over 3.5 goals with what we've seen out of the Kraken's defense. So the over 3.5, if you don't want to bet the Flyers in reg, I wouldn't bet both of them. I wouldn't put a lot of money on this game, to be honest with you. I do think a different way to go and a better way to go, and what I like more is just looking at a player here who we're going to trust. Michkov coming out, the rookie for the Flyers, for his shots on goal or anytime goal today. Now, his anytime goal is locked up currently on the books, but I do think you're going to get his anytime goal right around that plus 220 mark. And even if it's, plus 180 to plus 300, I'm going to be hitting on it anywhere in that range. So Mishkov for the goal, but also look at his shots on goal. We know that the defense is weak here for the Kraken. They're allowing these shots to come rolling in. Now, Michkov for 3+ shots on net tonight, coming in at plus 100. Absolutely, but I'm going to ladder it. 4+ shots on goal for Michkov, coming in at plus 260, 5+ at plus 630. Can he get 5 shots on net tonight? I do think he has every opportunity. He has 10 points and 27 shots on goal in their last 6 games coming out of the break. So Michkov has been really stepping up in those 6 games with 27 shots on net. I do think he's in for a strong night tonight. He's had 3 shots in 7 games straight before being limited to that last game versus the Jets. That last game versus the Jets, he only had, I believe it was 2 shots. But in those 7 games straight before, he had 3 or more shots on net in each and every one of those games. So 3+ shots on goal at plus 100, but do the latter. A quarter of a unit on 3+, a quarter of the unit on 4+ at plus 260, a quarter of the unit on 5+ at plus 630. Please, Michkov, get those shots. And then I'll put the other quarter of a unit on his anytime goal, which is right around plus 220. So only 1 full unit on Michkov in this game, but just kind of split up that way, you guys. I don't want to put a lot of money on it here. And then the Flyers, I do think, can win this in regulation. So that is where I'm going with this game. Let's get going. Michkov, Matt, you're going with the anytime goal. I absolutely love it. I think he's going to come out nice and strong. Let's get this Irish King. Blake, good afternoon. Okay, I'm going to talk about the next game. The New York Rangers versus the Ottawa Senators. I told you I am concerned about Brady Tkachuk, how he's going to come out in this game. Either Brady Tkachuk comes out and does something crazy, like gets a hat trick here on Igor Shesterkin, which I can't see, or Brady Tkachuk's completely silent out there on the ice tonight with Josh Norris being traded. These two were absolutely besties. They've shared apartments together and everything. So look for Brady Tkachuk to just not be 100% himself in this game. I don't know which way he's going to take it, but I do think it's worth a shot here on the New York Rangers, especially with the Ottawa Senators and what we've seen out of their defense as of late. This isn't a defense that I can trust as of late. They're allowing their goaltending to be peppered and allowing these goals to come in. Now, they're minus 128 favorite at home, and I know they're looking to make a push for the playoffs, but I do think this is a game they struggle versus the New York Rangers, who are looking to do the same. The New York Rangers at plus 106, we're starting to lose that plus money. It was plus 112 earlier in the morning over on FanDuel. Now we have a total of 5.5. The juice is to the over 5.5 at minus 120 in this one. I look at how weak the kill here is for the Ottawa Senators, and I think we're going to see the New York Rangers be able to capitalize here. Their defense in the last 10 games has allowed an average of 3.5 goals per game, and Allmark has not been at the top of his game. So you look at this and you look at the New York Rangers, they got a strong kill, 4th best kill in the league, 82.5%. Power play is not elite. It's sitting just below 20% conversion rate. But I do think in this one, they're going to be able to convert on Allmark in this defense. Now, the last time these teams matched up, the Rangers got the shutout win back in January, 5-0. So I know there's that angle here where we're looking for the revenge angle for the Ottawa Senators, but with that trade deadline, I do think it's a hard one here. They're coming off the win in their last game versus the Chicago Blackhawks on Wednesday. It was an overtime game, so they had to go to OT. They allowed the Chicago Blackhawks to put up 3 goals. Now we're seeing the New York Rangers roll in here off a loss to the Washington Capitals, overtime loss as well. But in that game versus the Capitals, they lost that 3-2. So only allowing those 3 goals, that third one coming in overtime. It is the first night of a back-to-back here. Columbus on deck for them tomorrow, but they need to pick up the points where they can. Like I said, both of these teams fighting for their playoff lives. Now, we did see a couple of additions here For the Ottawa Senators, they got Dylan Kozin and Dennis Gilbert from the Buffalo Sabres, and then they got Zetterlund from the San Jose Sharks. So we are seeing Dylan Kozin and Dennis Gilbert in the lineup today. Zetterlund, I'm not seeing confirmation if he'll be in this lineup as well. Tim Struzel, definitely someone you want to look at. I do think it would be Brady Tkachuk that I'm most concerned about, but look for Tim Struzel, Jake Sanderson, and Drake Batherson to really come out nice and strong. I do think those would be your playmakers. I love Brady Tkachuk, but I think this is going to be a fade of him. Now, on the other side for the New York Rangers, look for Panarin, JT Miller, and Mika Zibanejad. They're all playing really strong right now. I'm going to be parlaying them all for a point tonight. I do think they come out nice and strong and can get those points on the board. Moving on to, and the Rangers for the win. Again, like I said, they're starting to lose some value here on that money line. So I would watch it. Kev, thank you for the tip. You did not have to do that. I appreciate it. There is my Starbucks coffee today, Kev. I greatly appreciate that. That's so nice of you. Braden Point, Travis and Mika, 2+ points tonight. Okay, I like where you're going there. Braden Point definitely is going to have a great day for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and let's move into that game. The Boston Bruins taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning here. Now, Boston is in shambles. We absolutely know that. Trading off Brad Marchand, just not something I think anyone saw coming for this Boston team. They're coming in at a +240 underdog, and this team has been struggling to score. And we know Brad has been on the bench. He's been injured for that, like last game, or is it the last two? Well, last couple at least. And we've got the Tampa Bay Lightning, one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They're coming in at -300. So a $3 favorite. That puck line -1.5 is coming in at -118. Total 5.5 at -122. I almost feel like the Tampa Bay Lightning could push this total to the over themselves. I'm looking for a big day, and I think this is one where you want to look at those points. You want to look at this team to just roll in so hot. Boston, I don't trust their blue line right now, and I don't trust this locker room. I think this locker room is going to be shell-shocked, just as Bruins fans were yesterday and the rest of the hockey community. I don't think really people saw Brad Marchand being traded away from Boston. They've lost their last 3, complete sellers. They lost that last game to the Carolina Hurricanes 3-2 on a Thursday. And when we look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, like I said, one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They are sitting 23-7-2 straight up at home this season. They have won their last 2. They got a tight win versus the Buffalo Sabres, and that was a game, you guys. We went into that one saying, look, let's look at the Buffalo Sabres to hit them in the first period. I think if Vasilevsky's going to allow those goals, it's going to be quick, because the Tampa Bay Lightning had really hard schedule. And then they were looking at a Sabres team, looking ahead to this Boston team, not knowing this Boston team was going to be such massive sellers. I thought it was kind of a letdown spot. They were able to rally back, get the win. They allowed, the Sabres 4 goals in the first. So they really overlooked the Sabres in that first period, and then they were able to fight their way back. Now, they've won their last 10 as a favorite. And I do think with what we're going to see in this one, that they're going to get the win, and they're going to get it easily. Now, Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Jake Gunsel, those are your 3 playmakers I would be parlaying for those points today. I do think they come out nice and strong. Jake Gunsel, he has 5 goals in the last 2 games. So if you want to look at Gunsel for another goal in this one, I really do think he can hit Swayman. Now, when we look at it, like I said, with Brad Marchand gone from this lineup, the Bruins have no players left from that 2011 Stanley Cup win. So this team has turned over. But you look back, how long ago was 2011? Crazy to think Brad has been there that whole time, right? You don't see players really staying with teams that long. You've got these idle players that have been, but it's crazy to think. So he's gone to the Florida Panthers, and I tell you, Florida has every chance of repeating this year. This team is absolutely loaded. It's going to be deadly out there, especially, Matthew Tkachuk will come back from the long-term injury reserve in time for the playoffs. Now, they did also send Frederick to the Oilers. We had Justin Bazoo. I can't pronounce his last name. He is gone. And then Charlie Coyle and Brandon Carlo has left as well. So when we look at this, we look at that 2022 to 2023 season that was really strong for the Bruins, the players they have left from that run was Pasta, Charlie McAvoy, Lindholm, Zaka, and Swayman. So they still have 5 playmakers back from that run, but it's crazy to think on a full roster, only 5 of them left from that time. I am fading them here, but I do think you got to look at one playmaker that's come over. So they've acquired a total of 8 players at the trade deadline. Casey Middlestat is who I want to circle. I do think Casey Middlestat from the Colorado Avalanche is the playmaker to come out in his debut today and really get something going here. Now, I don't think the Bruins are going to win. Don't take it that far, but I do think Casey Middlestat can get on the board. 34 points, 11 goals, 23 assists is where he's sitting right now on the season. And that's, yes, with the Colorado Avalanche. But looking at him coming out here, he's going to center the second line alongside Elias Lindholm. I do think this is the center that they needed on this line to get that second line scoring. I'm going to look at Casey Middlestat tonight. His point's coming in at plus 220. All he needs is a point here on Andrei Vasilevskiy. Give me Casey Middlestat for a point, but also I'd look at the goal plus 600 for the goal. And I don't think it comes easy, you guys. I think we're going to absolutely sweat this out. It's not a huge bet here because we know how strong Andrei Vasilevskiy has been between the pipes. It's going to be hard for Casey Middlestat to score, but it could give Boston Bruins that new life after they, were gut punched yesterday with Brad Marchand leaving this team. So I'll take a chance on Casey Middlestat. I'm only going to use a half unit on this, you guys. A quarter unit on the point at plus 220 and a quarter unit on that goal at plus 600. Then I'm going to look here for a big day out of Tampa. I'm going to take Tampa first period puck line, laying a half a goal at plus 110, over 3.5 goals for the Tampa Bay Lightning at minus 124. They should win this by multiple goals. I do have the confidence in Andrei Vasilevskiy between the pipes and the Tampa Bay Lightning to come out so strong and get things done. JT Miller, he's up for point number 50 tonight. Good call, Mo. Look for JT Miller to come out nice and strong there for the New York Rangers. I love where you're going. Yeah, I don't think anyone really saw Brad getting taken away. That is for sure. Every single leg of the game, I have 6+ goals. It's 8 games. I had a single leg every game. I have 6. I don't understand, Blake, what you're saying. It's probably my reading on a Saturday morning, just trying to get there with that comment. Let me think on that one. Let me look at the last one. Locked it in. First time taking Michkov. Let's go for Michkov. He's going to have a big day. Stars versus Oilers, 8 p.m. Let's go Edmonton. Mac Dawson. It's going to be a freaking battle out there between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. We're going to talk about that. Mikko Rantanen in that lineup for Dallas. Edmonton's defense really will have to come to play in this matchup if they're hoping to get anything done. The Tampa Bay Lightning minus 1.5 Braden Point and Kucherov anytime goals, same game parlay. I like that. Where are you going with that? What value are you getting with that? That's what I mean. Let's look at the Buffalo Sabres versus the Florida Panthers. The Buffalo Sabres rolling in here at plus 195. The Florida Panthers at plus 240. Total of 6.5. Now, the 6.5 is juiced to the under at minus 120. The Florida Panthers, I do think will play in a tighter game here with the Buffalo Sabres than a lot of people expect. I'm not willing to take Buffalo plus the 1.5 at minus 128. On that puck line, but I do think this could be a nice live betting situation when Florida goes up to come back in on the Buffalo Sabres in this game. I'm expecting this one to start off hot. I'm expecting it to start off with the goals. Both teams to score in the first period coming in at plus 144 is where my money is going to go. Now, if you like the over 1.5 goals because you think Florida is going to score both of them, it's juicy at minus 156. Buffalo has struggled versus Florida. Florida's won 8 of the last 10 meetings, and they did win back in October, 5-2, but we saw the Sabres win the game prior. So they're split on the season, 1-1 on the season here. I do think Florida is a better side. This team is rolling hot. They have no look ahead. This is a Saturday game. They play the Bruins on Thursday, sitting first in the Atlantic versus the 8th team in the Atlantic. We're looking at the Sabres. They've lost their last 5. Thursday, they had that hot game versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. losing that one 6-5 after just such a hot first period. So I do think they can come out, bring that energy in that first period, score quick on Bobrovsky, and then Florida will answer back. In a perfect world, we'll see Florida score first, and then the Buffalo Sabres tie it up. But before they tie it up, I want to come back in on Buffalo. If we're getting a +2.5, that takes the empty netter situation out of it. I do think it probably finishes in a 1-goal game in this one. But again, at +1.5 at -122 for the Buffalo Sabres, it's not the value I want. If I'm getting +1.5 at +180, after the Florida Panthers score first, I will take a chance then on the Buffalo Sabres to come into this game and keep it nice and tight. The under has been the trend between these two teams. I'm just gonna kind of stay off this game. I don't absolutely love it here. I don't love riding with teams on big winning streaks against teams on big losing streaks. So Buffalo's lost 5, Florida's won 5. It kind of puts you in an uneasy situation, right? Because Florida should be able to get the win. They're just such a big favorite here. So I don't love it. It's both teams to score in the first period. Okay, let's look at the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, a single leg parlay. So you've got a single leg parlay every game to have 6+ goals in each game. Oh, I completely understand what you're saying now. I know a lot of people play the goals for the day. I can't remember what it's called. Scott Wetzel that I do in-game live with plays it every once in a while. It's the goals for the day on the ice over under a certain number. So every single game for 6+ goals today. It's a good, interesting bet here. I don't think I'm really loving any unders. So I do think it would be a solid way to go. Again, I don't know what we're going to get out of the Buffalo Sabres and the Florida Panthers. They do trend to that under. But the majority of these games, I am seeing goals. So I don't hate where you're going there for the 6. Can you ult it down to over 5.5 in all of these games? Just a thought. I'd be a little bit more comfortable with that over 5.5 goals. Let's look at the next game here. The Montreal Canadiens and the Calgary Flames. We know no one likes to play defense on a Saturday, though. These are always exciting games. The Montreal Canadiens versus the Calgary Flames. Now, Calgary normally a fade spot in this situation, coming in off a hard road trip, but both of these teams are absolutely battling for a playoff spot. The Montreal Canadiens are +108. The Calgary Flames are -130, and we're starting to see this line really shift. Calgary was like a -150 favorite coming into this. So money's definitely moving here on Montreal, but I don't know if it's the right side. Calgary at home with Dustin Wolf in net should come out really strong between the pipes. Now, this is a game that I do have a little bit of concern that we will just teeter on that total. I think it could go over the total of 5.5 because of OT. We're looking at -122 to the over in this one and +100 to the under. Now, Calgary's been really strong at limiting their opponent's ability to push these games to the over, or they just haven't been scoring. So they've had, 7 of their last 8 games stay under the total. But Montreal will be fiery in this one. We know that combination of Nick Suzuki and Caulfield is fantastic on the top line for the Montreal Canadiens. If you take both of them for a point tonight, that's coming in at +105. So that's Nick Suzuki and Caulfield, the Montreal Canadiens for a point at +105. I'm going to be playing that. And then I'm going to look at that top line there for Calgary. Nazem Kadri actually was solid on the road on this road trip, scoring those goals. So I'm going to look at Kadri and Huberdeau on that top line. I do think one of them scores and the other one gets the assist. Then parlay together for the points +103. Now, Calgary, I do think can win this in a 3-2, 4-2 style game. Depending on that empty netter. I'm looking for Dustin Wolf to really stand tall between the pipes. They won their last 5 as a favorite off of overtime, and I do think Montreal's held under their team total of 2.5. It's +106. It's a little risky here because we do know they have the playmakers. I really like what we've seen out of Lane Hudson as well on that blue line. We've got Calgary again, though, home off this road trip. So we could still see this one go over that 5.5 because that defense will have those lapses. I think Calgary offensively really makes that push. Josh Dobbs in net for the Montreal Canadiens. I think they're going to be able to score on him. And then it's just a matter of how strong is Wolf going to be at home in this game. Wolf is 14-6-2 at home with a 2.27 goals against average and a .925 save percentage. Dustin Wolf, young goalie out there. He's not the goalie that's coming home to a family with kids where he's had to do some chores since getting home from this overtime loss versus the Dallas Stars. And I do look at that. I do weigh that into equation because you look at these players coming home off of long road trips. They've got to get back in to their regular life. And if you've got a goaltender that's got to get back into regular life with a family and he hasn't seen the family, hasn't seen the kids, and the wife wants to go off and get her nails done, he has to stay home. You got to weigh that into the equation, you guys. Dustin Wolf is not in that situation. So we should see him nice and strong between the pipes here in this game. So I think Calgary can get the win because of it. Thank you, Jeffrey. I hope your day is going fantastic as well. Let's move on to the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Colorado Avalanche. Excited. I'm so excited to see Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders joining the Colorado Avalanche. He adds that speed that we thought when we got Natchez over here from Carolina, added to that line with Nathan McKinnon, and now we have that second line center in Brock Nelson, who is phenomenal at the even strength scoring. Brock Nelson's going to bring another level to the Colorado Avalanche that I do think Colorado has every opportunity to make a run for the cup. I think this team is so strong in the addition to him. We know they upgraded goaltending. We got Mackenzie Blackwood in goal. And I do think versus Toronto here, Toronto made a couple pickups. I'm not impressed with what Toronto did. Nothing big, nothing flashy out there. Stolarz expected in goal. We know Toronto's had a strength of goaltending this season between Wall and Stolarz. They've been pretty solid, but I still look at what this kill has done for them. The unit's only killing 79.2%. It's not Stella. They're allowing 29.2 shots on goal per game. So defense still needs to step up. For the Toronto Maple Leafs, now they're coming off a couple of losses. They lost that last game to Vegas, 5-2 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. They're still sitting nice and second in the Atlantic, and Colorado third in the Central. But I'm liking this Colorado team. That power play is converting 24% of the time. They're allowing 26.4 shots on goal per game. So the defense really is playing solid. That's fifth best in the league. We've got to see Mackenzie Blackwood stand taller between the pipes. Now, he does have good numbers since joining Colorado, 17, 7, and 2 in 26 starts with a 2.15 goals against average and a 921 save percentage. So we have seen Blackwood have that pivotal, those pivotal games in net for Colorado. We just need him to step up to the next level. I want to see him get that goals against average down to closer to 2 than the 2.15. And I think it really could start tonight here versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I said, they haven't made those impactful moves at the trade deadline that I'd hope to see for this team. So Morgan Riley will be joined by Brendan Carlo, though, on that top line defensively for Toronto. So that is going to be a great addition. We'll see how those two work nicely out on the ice or if not. But I do think here, looking at the Colorado Avalanche, the speed of this offense, especially in transition, is going to be pretty unstoppable out there. Look for them to move this puck seamlessly from zone to zone and be able just to fire away like crazy on Stolarz tonight. I do think they have the upper hand. I'm thinking Colorado wins this 4-2 or 4-3. They should play a really solid one here. Over 3.5 goals for the Colorado Avalanche coming in at plus 100. First period puck line laying a half a goal at plus 154. I love both of those. And then I'm going to circle Brock Nelson. You guys, I love Brock Nelson to come out and be impactful for Colorado straight out of the gate. His anytime goal coming in at plus 240. His point tonight is minus 125. You could look at Brock Nelson for 2+ points. I have that confidence in him, or the power play point. So looking at Brock Nelson, he'll center that second line. We had Casey Middlestat in that area. And we're going to see Nelson, second line center. We'll see him, but on that power play unit, he will be on the same power play unit as lots of these like top guys out here. So we're going to see him on that top power play. I do think with Natushkin on that second line with him. We're going to see that ability for him to score tonight and for him to get those shots. Now, his ability to win those faceoffs, career high right now, 52.3% of the time he's able to really capitalize on those faceoffs and get the win. So he's on that second power play unit as well with Ross Colton. So if you can get the power play point, I would look at it. I do think on that second unit there, with Ross Colton, we're going to see that strength out of Brock Nelson. His strength is scoring, though the majority of his goals have come on that 5-on-5 play. So looking at maybe Ross Colton for the power play goal and then him for the power play point, if you can get it tonight. It should be a good game, you guys. I can't wait to see that one. Let's turn to the St. Louis Blues. The St. Louis Blues are back in action today versus the LA Kings. And if you're only tuning in every couple of days, it seems like we've talked about this matchup 3 times in this week, because we have. The St. Louis Blues played the Anaheim Ducks last night, and they were able to get the win. Not the big win I wanted. I wanted them to cover that puck line. They were only able to win at 4-3, but we still were able to get the St. Louis Blues for the win. They're now rolling in at plus 168. On the money line here on the road in LA for the second time. They won the last game versus the LA Kings 2 games ago in a shootout, and then they won the game prior. So they've won the last 2 meetings versus the Kings. Last 2 meetings have been in the last week, and now they're a plus 168 underdog. It seems like such a good price here for the St. Louis Blues, especially when you look ahead to who the Kings have to play tomorrow. The best team in the Pacific in the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, originally, when I looked at this, I looked at going into the last game between these 2 teams. I looked at St. Louis to get the win. That happened. I looked for them to then beat the Anaheim Ducks, pick up the points. That happened. And then I was looking to fade them here today. The angle of Vegas on deck tomorrow was something I hadn't weighed into that equation when I was looking ahead at the schedule for the St. Louis Blues. With the Kings with Vegas on deck, I struggled to take the Kings on the puck line for the full game, because that's how you have to bet them. You can't take them at minus 205. That's just way too juiced. You could take them minus 1.5 at plus 122, but with Vegas on deck, there is no way I am touching that, because St. Louis is scrappy. St. Louis never gives up in these games, and they could pull goaltending, get that goal where it looks like we're going to have that easy cover, 3-1 style game. The Blues get a meaningless goal. The Kings win 3-2. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to lay that puck line, even though it could come in where they cash that puck line for the LA Kings if the Blues don't make that push in the third period, because the tired legs out here on the second night of back-to-back. What I want to do is I want to look at the Kings to look for that revenge in that first period and lay the puck line in the first period for the LA Kings. The puck line in the first period laying a half a goal at plus 142. Now, if you just look at how recency has been between these teams, it should be the St. Louis Blues just keep rolling and get another win here over the LA Kings. I'm just worried about those tired legs, so it's not worth it for me, but I do think we can circle some players. LA's lost their last 5, but they have been circling this game since Wednesday when they lost in the shootout. Robert Thomas was able to score that goal in the shootout. So while I'm going to take the Kings first period puck line at plus 142, I actually love the player props way better in this game. I think this could be a higher scoring game that goes to overtime. So that overtime bet coming in at plus 330. Now give me Kevin Fiala here. Kevin Fiala for goal number 25 tonight for the LA Kings coming in at plus 160. If you look at Kempe and Kopitar, in these last couple of games versus the St. Louis Blues, they have been really locked down out there. Byfield was able to get a goal in the last game. His goal to come in and get another one's plus 330. In that last game, he had 4 shots on goal, but in the game prior, the Blues held him to 0 shots on goal. So I'm a little leery with Byfield. I like Kevin Fiala a lot more, especially for goal number 25 at plus 160. Kempe in the last game had 3 shots on goal, but 0 points. Game prior versus the Blues, 2 shots on goal and 0 points. He's got 50 points on the season, 26 goals and 24 assists. You guys know I love parlaying Kempe and Kopitar, but are they going to be able to lock down these guys again? Because Kopitar, last game, 0 shots on goal. Game prior, 3 shots on goal. So they're going back and forth with these 2 guys, limiting one of them out there. In the second, not last game, but the game prior, Kopitar was able to get 1 point. It did come via assist. He's got 48 points on the season, 14 goals and 34 assists. So can he get that point tonight? Maybe. I'm going to take Kevin Fiala. That's where my trust is going to come in this lineup. You guys know I love Parlay and Kempe and Kopitar for the point. I'm just cautious of them today versus a Blues team that has been able to limit one of them, and you just can't take them separately for the point. It just doesn't pay. Looking at the St. Louis Blues, Jordan Kyrou still looking for goal number 25. He's got 50 points on the season, 24 goals, 26 assists. So goal number 25 tonight, I will play at plus 260. Now, looking at Robert Thomas, we know he got the overtime shootout goal versus the Kings in that last matchup. He's looking for assist number 35 tonight. He's got 51 points, 17 goals, and 34 assists. So that assist coming in at plus 118. I'll play Jordan Kyrou for the goal at plus 260, Robert Thomas for the assist at plus 118. If you just want to parlay them for a point, you're still going to get plus 112. I believe that's where that one came in at. I'll play the overtime at plus 330, and I'll play Kevin Fiala for goal number 25 at plus 160. Let's look at the next matchup here. The Chicago Blackhawks taking on the Nashville Predators. Chicago rolling in off of a great win last night in overtime. Connor Bedard finally lighting the lamp. Overtime goal by Connor Bedard. He also got an assist, so 2 points in yesterday's game. We're seeing the Nashville Predators at minus 260 here on the money line and a total of 6.5. The 6.5 juice to the over at minus 112. And you guys, there's no way I'm touching Nashville at this price. Now, I know they killed our bet versus the Seattle Kraken in that last game. They were able to get that big win over Seattle 5-3. The inconsistencies here on defense and in goal isn't enough for me to trust the Nashville Predators here. Saros in goal. Both Chicago and Nashville scored 4 goals in their last 3 games. In 3 of their last 4. So we are seeing both of these teams light that lamp, and I do think that's what we see here tonight. I think Chicago rolls in, and Connor Bedard, with that confidence, finally getting those points on the board. That was a heavy weight on his shoulders, so look for them to come out nice and strong. Chicago plus 1.5 on the puck line. Not as much value as I'd like. It's coming in at minus 118. That juice has ticked up from minus 110 just before we kicked off this show. And then the money line here for the Chicago Blackhawks is coming in at plus 210. It was plus 220. So if you like Chicago like I do, get in on them now. I will take a half a unit on that puck line and a half a unit on the money line for the Chicago Blackhawks. The Chicago Blackhawks have covered the puck line in the last 3 versus the Nashville Predators. So they have played these type games. And like I said, I don't trust the Predators in net and defensively to limit even a team like Chicago. I do think the goals are coming on both sides, the over 6.5 at plus 100. And could we see this one going to overtime? It's interesting here because both of these teams weak defensively, weak in net. We could see these offenses have that explosion, 3-3 going into overtime, pushing us over the 6.5. The overtime bet's coming in at plus 400. I think it's worth a shot. Now, the over 1.5 goals in the first period, minus 154. Both teams to score at plus 154. I'm going to stay off of that because Chicago started off slow in yesterday's game. Cost me a bet with Utah rolling in, getting the only goal, and it's not going over the 1.5 and both teams not scoring. But I do think it has every opportunity, especially with the Blackhawks rolling in off of that win. And we know Nashville really strong in that first period. So if you want to play that, you can, but I'll just look at Chicago first period. Look for Connor Bedard to continue to get those points on the board. And I do think we can see that conversion on the power play here for Chicago tonight. Okay, guys. Time to talk the New York Islanders. The New York Islanders taking on the San Jose Sharks. Both of these teams sellers at the trade deadline. The Isles on the road are minus 176 favorite with Sorokin expected in goal. The San Jose Sharks plus 142 at home. And you know I love how scrappy this team is out there. We've got a total of 6.5 plus 116 to the over, minus 142 to the under, which I'm really shocked by because I'm looking for the Isles to be able to score in this one. Georgiev just hasn't been strong between the pipes. He's gone 12-20-1 on the season in 37 games with a 876 save percentage and a 3.30 goals against average. So while this Islanders team does struggle on special teams and they have lost Brock Nelson, look for some of their playmakers that are still around like Palmieri and Bo Horvat to really step up. We know the Sharks, their kill is weak, and we could see that power play conversion, even though we don't see an elite power play here. For the Islanders, I think it's enough to score on the Sharks. So I do think this one has every opportunity of going over that total. Zetterlund was sent to the Ottawa Senators, but Tyler Toffoli, Celebrini still here for the Sharks. So Toffoli for the anytime goal coming in at plus 220. He's on a 4-game point streak right now. And then Celebrini, we know how strong he's been. 46 points in 52 games. He was able to get goal number 20 in the last game out, and I do think he comes out strong in this one. Again, Toffoli has a 43 points in 61 games. I'm looking for both of these players to be hot, help the Sharks team total go to the over, and for this full game to go to the over, because Bo Horvat on the other side for the Isles, I think he can get a goal at plus 160. And then Palmieri, look at Palmieri on that power play. I do think he's sneaky power play point player tonight for us, and we're getting that at plus 320 for Palmieri for the power play point. So I think this is a great way to look with Palmieri and Bo Horvat really stepping up with Brock Nelson out of the lineup. These two teams were sellers, but I don't think we get that gut punch that these teams would have been feeling, like the Bruins, even the Ottawa Senators with Josh Norris gone. So I do think these teams still come out nice and strong, even though they were sellers at the trade deadline. And now let's talk about the Dallas Stars, you guys. The Dallas Stars definitely huge winners at the trade deadline, picking up Mikko Rantanen, 8-year deal with him. Definitely a happy team. Adding him to the lineup instantly made Dallas from like 6th, 7th to take the cup into that second place behind the Florida Panthers, and I do think rightly so. Mikko Rantanen is such a strong player out here. I can't believe Carolina wasn't able to hold on to him, and in that deal, what happened there? It's just confusing. I thought they were going to make a huge push for the cup, and so did the books. The books had Carolina as the top favorite, then the second favorite before Mikko Rantanen, or when Mikko Rantanen first got traded, before he was traded over here to the Dallas Stars. So definitely a bounce around for Rantanen. You know, we got to circle him tonight to come out nice and strong. He didn't have that huge impact that we would have expected with the Carolina Hurricanes, but I would look at Mikko Rantanen for a goal tonight. That's coming in at plus 155. We've also got to look at Wyatt Johnston here. He got his contract extension for the Dallas Stars. We know how hot he has been. He was fantastic last year in his rookie season, and he's just bringing that energy right back this year, even though he got off to that slow start. So look for that contract extension to really light that fire under Wyatt Johnston. His anytime goal at plus 220, I think, is a really solid way. Now, I know Edmonton hasn't been playing well, and they should get back on track, but should getting back on track, I don't want it to cost my wallet like they did in that last game. Not the Montreal game, the game versus the Anaheim Ducks. So in Montreal, they went to overtime 3-2. They were able to get the win, but in that game versus the Ducks, they lost after beating the Carolina Hurricanes, after losing 5 in a row. So they beat the Carolina Hurricanes on the road after losing 5 out of the break. And then they came home and allowed the Ducks to steamroll over them. And then they went to overtime versus Montreal. Now they're facing a Dallas Stars team that has elite defense, elite forwards, and goaltending with Jake Ottinger. There's no way I can touch Edmonton. If they get this win, we know Dallas isn't at 100% right now. Dallas won that last victory versus Edmonton at home 4-1, so they were able to get that big win. They're trailing the Winnipeg Jets just by 6 points in the Western Conference. So Dallas is making a huge push, you guys. This is the first night of a back-to-back with Vancouver on deck tomorrow, another opponent in the Pacific. They are not looking past the Edmonton Oilers, that's for sure. Now, Wallman was picked up here by the Edmonton Oilers on the defensive side of things. But and I hate to say this about an athlete, he's not the defenseman that I would have gone after if I was the Edmonton Oilers. I would have looked at Erik Karlsson there, the Pittsburgh Penguins, to come out. He, offensive defenseman, he's really gritty there and strong from that blue line. And I just don't see that out of Jake Wallman. So we'll see what we get. Now, they did get Frederick from Boston. He's on the IR, lower body injury, so he will not be playing in this game. Edmonton trails Vegas by 4 points with 20 games remaining. So they're sitting second in the Pacific. So they're looking to make a huge push. This team, though, has lost 6 of their last 8 games. I can't back them here. versus the Dallas Stars. I do think Dallas money line -104, and then alt puck line, I'll lay a goal and a half with the Dallas Stars at +220. If they can hit Stuart Skinner in this, it's going to be fantastic because Skinner's been allowing those goals to come in. Now, if you think that we can see just the goals coming in this one, at Edmonton winning in a 4-3 style game, you can just look at this one to the over. Because even though I think the Dallas Stars have looked so elite, they've been strong on the road. They're 17-12-1 on the road, 41-19-2 overall on the season. We know Edmonton offensively has to get something going. They're going to try to lock down on the defensive side of things. I just don't trust them. And yeah, Mo, we're looking at Connor McDavid with 79 points. So he's 1 point away from point number 80. Fade the Wild for the rest of the season. Yeah, the poor Wild. I swear, I don't understand what is happening with that team. But Dallas, I think, has my money. It's just a matter of if they can limit Edmonton in this one and if Edmonton's defense will show up. So it's going to be interesting. I don't love the betting situation because we do have so many moving parts on both teams. Edmonton needs to step up defensively, but I do think you look at Mikko Rantanen in his debut here to show up and get a goal. You look at Wyatt Johnson in his debut to show up and get a goal, +220. You parlay them together for their point. Parlaying them together for their point is going to get you plus money. And then you look at Jamie Benn. Further down the list, Jamie Benn has 24 goals in 44 career games versus the Oilers. So he has had success scoring on the Oilers. Look at Jamie Benn for the point or the goal at +370. On the other side, Mo, you mentioned Connor McDavid for point number 80. I do think it comes via an assist, and you look at Leon Draisaitl for the anytime goal. When you're looking at the power play here for Dallas, that power play has been clicking at an elite level since the break. So looking at the top power play unit for the Dallas Stars, probably the best way to go. You've got Rantanen, Hintz, Robertson, Wyatt Johnson, and Thomas Harley on that top power play unit. When we look at the power play points for the Dallas Stars, I'm hoping they're open right now because they were not open before. I was trying to get these power play points earlier in the day. So Connor McDavid for the power play point coming in at +135, Leon Draisaitl at +140, Evan Bouchard at +180. All three of those players have every opportunity for Edmonton to score on that power play. We know the kill is nice and solid here for the Dallas Stars. I'm going to look at the Dallas Stars to be able to score on the power play. When we look at Mikko Rantanen, he's not listed on FanDuel. I do think he can get the point on the power play. Like I said, on the top power play unit, we do have Jason Robinson at +230, Rupe Hintz at +240. If Rupe Hintz is scoring, this power play is clicking, and Wyatt Johnson at +250. I'm going to take a shot at Wyatt Johnson at +250 for the power play point. Goal or assist here, I don't care. At +250 has value. Harley is coming in at +320. Definitely has value for Harley, but a little bit harder for him to get that point. I do think it comes out of Wyatt Johnson. So those power play points should be clicking in this one, you guys. It's going to be a great game out there. That is the show. Let's get into the recap. You guys remember I'm on Game Time Decisions from 4 o'clock to 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm also going to be guesting on, In-Game Live. I'm also going to be guesting on In-Game Live. I think, earlier. Earlier, I'm on In-Game Live. Can't remember what time because that is my brain right now, you guys. I'll be on In-Game Live at 2:30 Eastern. That is the time. So make sure you join me in the next couple hours there with Tom Vecchio and Joe Ranieri talking some of these games, as well as live betting what's happening. Then on In-Game Live later with Scott Wetzel for that 4 hours. Not only hockey, we'll also be going over everything happening on the hardwood today. We've got great games. It's March Madness right now, finishing up for some of these teams. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at the NBA, and we've got golf going on, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So lots on deck for today. So make sure you join me over there. So let's jump into this recap. Try to get it done as fast as possible. Mo, yes, we'll look at those favorite players at the end of the recap. The favorite players definitely are going to be on these players making their debuts. Okay. Just to mention again, after picking up Mikko Rantanen, the Dallas Stars have moved to the second favorite to take the cup at plus 600 behind the Florida Panthers at plus 500 right now on FanDuel. I do think both have the opportunities. The Canes, after letting go of Mikko Rantanen, have moved to plus 1200. They're now behind the Oilers, the Avs, the Knights, and the Capitals all to take the cup. So definitely not the move the Carolina Hurricanes needed to make, but one that they had to because Mikko Rantanen was not going to sign with Carolina. So the Seattle Kraken and the Philadelphia Flyers, I'm going to look at the Flyers in red coming in at plus 105. If you're a little bit worried about the reg, there is value on their team total over 3.5 goals at plus 120. This game for me is all about Michkov, and this game has kicked off, you guys. Let me just look and see if there is a score. No score yet, 0-0, so you can still get in on the Flyers in reg. Michkov here, 3+ shots on goal, plus 100. Laddered, 4+ shots at plus 260, 5+ shots at plus 630. And the anytime goal for Michkov today at plus 220. The New York Rangers and the Ottawa Senators, again, puck has dropped in this one. Still 0-0 with 13 minutes left in that first period. I'm looking for Igor to come out nice and strong for the New York Rangers to get the win. I don't trust Brady Tkachuk today with Josh Norris being traded away, and I do think this locker room is a little bit upset with that trade there. So I do think with both teams fighting for a playoff spot, I'm looking at the stronger goaltender and the team that might not be as shell-shocked as the other. I think Brady Tkachuk's pretty shell-shocked today. So you can still jump in on the Rangers, live betting the Rangers coming in at plus 102. The Boston Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Bruins got punched yesterday with Brad Marchand leaving this team. The puck will drop on this one at 3 Eastern. Plenty of time to get those bets in. I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Lightning first period puck line. That's coming in at plus 110. Over 3.5 goals, I do think has every opportunity of cashing. That's coming in at minus 124. Look for Kucherov, Braden Point, and Gunsel to really step up in this game today. But we will look here at Casey Middlestat making his debut for the Boston Bruins. I love it today. His anytime point at plus 220. And yes, it's going to be hard to score on Vasilevsky, but I do think it's worth a quarter of a unit on his point at plus 220, the anytime goal at plus 600. Centering that second line with Elias Lindholm. Look for Casey Middlestat to make a hot debut out here for the Boston Bruins, giving their fans a little bit of hope. Looking at the Buffalo Sabres versus the Florida Panthers, I want to live bet the Buffalo Sabres if Florida goes up first, either plus 1.5 on the puck line at right around that plus 180 mark, or I want to look at them plus 2.5 if I'm not going to have to lay the juice. So I do think Florida goes up first, but I do think we'll see the Sabres answer back in the first period. Both teams to score in the first period at plus 144. The Montreal Canadiens and the Calgary Flames, both teams fighting for a playoff spot. The Habs are plus 600 if you do believe they can reach the playoffs. Calgary coming in at plus 250 if you believe they can make the playoffs. So those are still bets you can get over on FanDuel. 6th in the Atlantic for the Montreal Canadiens and 4th in the Pacific for the Calgary Flames. They will face the Canucks on Wednesday, who they're battling it out with for that wild card spot. Dustin Wolf has been incredible at home, and I'm expecting him to be strong between the pipes today. I'm going to look at Calgary to get the win. The juice keeps dropping on them. I think this is a 3-2, 4-2 style win for the Calgary Flames. I love the player props in here. The line mates parlayed. I'm going to look at Suzuki and Caulfield for a point at plus 105 parlayed together, and Nazem Kadri and Jonathan Huberdeau for a point at plus 103 parlayed together. I won't be shocked if Kadri gets a goal. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Colorado Avalanche. For me, this game is all about Brock Nelson. Give me Brock Nelson for the goal at plus 240. His points at minus 125. And if you can get Brock Nelson on that power play, I would look for the power play point as well. He's so strong at getting the 5-on-5 goals as well as winning those faceoffs. Career high right now, 52.8%. Look for the Avs to go over 3.5 goals. That's coming in at plus 100. I like the Avs first period. Puck line minus a half a goal at plus 154. I'm not impressed with what we saw out of the Leafs at the trade deadline. I do think they still have those struggles out there. I would have liked to hope for a couple more bigger moves. They made moves, okay moves, but not the moves that I really wanted to see. They did add a strong defenseman out there. It's going to be hard for Colorado, but the speed Colorado brings with Nathan McKinnon, Natchez, and now looking at Brock Nelson being added from the Islanders, the speed this team will have out there, they're going to just dominate in that neutral zone, win in transition, and really get those breakout goals. The St. Louis Blues and the LA Kings, this is going to be the third matchup within a week here. St. Louis has taken the first two, and while I want to take St. Louis straight up on the money line to win the third in a row, we know how hard that is. The Kings are rested since the last game on Wednesday. Look for the Kings to come out with a vengeance in the first period. I'll take the Kings first period puck line minus the half a goal plus 142. But that's as far as I'm going to go with the Kings. They have Vegas on deck tomorrow, who is sitting first in the Pacific. They need every point they can get. But this is a hard place to back them, especially with the lack of value you're getting. I do think Kevin Fiala can get a goal. Kevin Fiala for the anytime goal at plus 160 here for the LA Kings. And on the other side, Jordan Kyrou is still looking for goal number 25. I'll hit him for the goal at plus 260. Robert Thomas for assist number 35. I'll hit that at plus 118. And I do think we have every chance of going to overtime at plus 330. The Chicago Blackhawks and the Nashville Predators, it's a play on the Blackhawks for me. I'm playing the number in this one, you guys. I don't trust the Nashville Predators enough. I think this is a higher scoring game. We're getting plus 220 on the money line for the Chicago Blackhawks, plus 1.5 at minus 110. And I'm willing to lay that there. Now the over 6.5 at plus 100, I do think comes into play because of overtime in this game. The overtime bet coming in at plus 400. Look for Connor Bedard to continue to roll hot after getting 2 points yesterday. The Islanders versus the Sharks, both teams sellers here, but I do think the Islanders still have the upper hand and can get the win. The problem is I can't find any value, but I do like the player props. Give me Bo Horvat for the anytime goal at plus 160. Paul Mary here for the Isles for a power play point. Just weak kill here for the Sharks. I think power play points are coming both ways. I don't trust either's kill. And while we don't have outstanding power plays, I do think goaltending will allow those power play goals. Look for Tyler Toffoli for the anytime goal at plus 220. Celebrini to get on the board as well. And then the Dallas Stars versus the Edmonton Oilers. Give me Mikko Rantanen at plus 155. Give me the Dallas Stars. I'm going to go light on Dallas tonight, but I do think that they win this on the money line minus 104 and the puck line minus 1.5 for that old puck line at plus 220. I just can't trust Edmonton's defense and goaltending as of late. I'm looking at Wyatt Johnson, Mikko Rantanen, Robert Thomas. Jason Robinson. You've got so many players here. And Jamie Benn for the Dallas Stars that I think these forward lines just dominate today. So like I said, Edmonton did add a defenseman, but I just don't trust that addition. I don't think it's enough. So Jamie Benn for the anytime goals plus 370. Long shot here, 24 goals in 44 games versus the Oilers in his career. Wyatt Johnson on that contract extension at plus 220 and Mikko Rantanen at plus 155 for the goal. Now, if we can get all three of them for a point, you can parlay that together. Great value you're going to get, especially parlaying all three of them for that point tonight. But I'm going to take a chance on the points, but parlay together for the three, but also for all three for the goals. And we need Jamie Benn to hit at plus 370 to make money if we only hit one out of the three. But I do think we can hit two out of the three and have great chances there. Now, Edmonton, Connor McDavid for the point tonight. He's looking at point number 80, and then Leon Draisaitl as well. So looking at my top players that I have circled tonight, it's definitely these players that have come over from other teams, making their debut, looking to really show up for that first game. It would be Mikko Rantanen here for the Colorado Avalanche. You can look at this in a couple ways. You can look at them for their goals, or you can parlay them together for their points. So Mikko Rantanen for the point or the goal, I would take for Dallas. I'm then going to look here at Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson for the goal tonight at plus 240 or the point at minus 125. I think both of those players, and that's for Colorado, have big days. Then I'm going to look at Casey Middlestat. Casey Middlestat for the point today is plus 220. This is going to be a harder one to hit because it is on a hot goaltender here in Tampa Bay's Andre Vasilevsky, but I do think Casey Middlestat makes an impact. So the point here is where I would look as well. So those are my 3 top players tonight that I really do think are hugely impactful in these games. So again, the top 3 is Casey Middlestat here. Now of the Boston Bruins, even though I think Tampa's going to win that, I think he gets the point tonight. I'm going to look at Brock Nelson now with the Colorado Avalanche for his point tonight, and then looking at Mikko Rantanen for his point tonight for Dallas. It should be a great day out there on the ice, you guys. Blake, you got Bo Horvat, Johnson, and I can't talk. I know who Terry Langton coming out here for those anytime goals. That like where you're going, man. Talking is not my strong suit today, which is going to be really hard when I've got a 4-hour show coming up, you guys. But we've talked here for the last hour. Everyone that has joined me, thank you so very much for joining me today. Yeah, the NHL trade deadline is always so much better than the NBA trade deadline. We saw that with the All-Star games as well. Let's make some freaking money today, you guys. That is for sure. It's going to be a fantastic day out there on the ice. These games that have already kicked off. We did see the New York Rangers get that goal. The Rangers are now up 1-0 over the Ottawa Senators, you guys. That's exactly what we wanted to see, riding with the Rangers in this one. Let me just see who that anytime goal scorer was for the New York Rangers. Okay, we got the assist by Panarin. So Panarin with the point on the board. Trocheck as well for the assist. It's going to be a great day, you guys. 3 top players injured plus $50 million. We can't because other point next year. It's always next year, right? It's always next year. You guys, let's make some freaking money. My Cup of Joe will be out right away, as well as my Madden Quickie on the SportsGrid app. So make sure you stay tuned for both of those. Again, I am live on In-Game Live with Joe Ranieri and Tom Vecchio here at 2:30 Eastern. So make sure you tune in, as well as live from 4 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern with Scott Wetzel. Same time tomorrow for me as well on SportsGrid. And then Monday to Friday next week, you can catch me on the grid from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on In-Game Live with Scott Wetzel as well. So if you haven't got your fill of me from Puck It with Joe on the daily, make sure for the next 10 days straight, you join me on SportsGrid on In-Game Live for that 8 to 10 during the weekdays and from the 4 to 8 during the weekends. You guys are absolutely the best. Thank you again. If you can hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that retweet button, I would greatly appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Lighter slate, but great games tomorrow on deck. Hit some anytime goal scorers as well.